This is my daily 2005 Nissan Altima SE-R. This particular car came with a 260 horsepower and 251 feet-pound of torque VQ35DE V6 engine and a factory 6-speed manual transmission. For the past 10 years, I have cruised around in this amazing sports sedan up and down mountains, across vast plains, and through hilly countryside. She has seen track time, aggressive driving, sunset cruises, long road trips, sun, rain, wind, snow, and a vast number of car meets. She has a few bumps and bruises from the normal mishaps of life. It has mostly remained stock with the exception of a few replaced consumable parts. So with no more ado, let's get this car up in the air, on stands, and start modifying. Now would probably be a good time to explain what our plans are for this build.
So this is simple. My car was having problems with its clutch, so I first had to get a new clutch for my car so that I could get maximum power out of my vehicle instead of slipping all the way through all 6 gears. Since we have the transmission open and we're working with it, it's only natural that you buy the Nissan built factory option on this transmission, not in this car, to put in this car to make it drive better.
Makes sense.
Interesting story. This was put in the Nissan Maximas from this same year, which had the same 6-speed transmission. It was a factory option. But for some reason on the Altima, which had more power at the time, they didn't think to have the option of a limited slip differential.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
The reason I burned up my clutch, though, from what I understand, is this little guy right here. This goes from your master cylinder on your clutch to your slave cylinder on your clutch. On a hot, warm day, or when the engine would warm up, my clutch plate would only travel about far, grinding away the friction material, causing my clutch to then slip erroneously and causing me to replace it. And now if you're going through all this trouble, you have your subframe out, you have your transmission pulled out, your engine is hanging by a hoist, means that your suspension system is also hanging in open space, doing not a whole lot, right? So there's one more thing you have to add on to your modification list. Coilovers.
Coilovers.
And people might be thinking, it's a 4-door sedan, coilovers, really? It's a track monster. And you need grip when you take this thing to the track. And I do take this thing to the track, thank you very much. So, this is why you get from replacing the clutch to adding coilovers to your car.
So you're gonna need to replace something. You might as well replace it with something awesome for just a tiny bit more. Or a heck of a lot more, I don't know. Just, if you're replacing something already, you have to replace it. Replace it with something better. And if you're already replacing it with something better, and you've already got the car up, and you've taken off the transmission and the engine's hanging, no small feat, unless you're like us and you've got your own home garage, which is just put together by jack on top of jack on top of jack. Then you might as well throw on some coil, do some other upgrades while you're at it. If you can do multiple upgrades at the same time,
save yourself time and trouble.
There you go.
Maybe not in money, but time and trouble.
There you go. So we've got these awesome parts that we're going to put in. We're going to start working on putting these on.
Let's get to it.
Okay.
We begin this build as you would any other extensive build, by pulling the battery. This is mostly because the battery is sitting right above the transmission, but it is a good idea to remove it if the car is going to be out of commission for a while. After the battery is out, we can remove all the parts, wires, and cables on the top of the transmission.
If I had my old air compressor, this job would be a lot easier. I could use something like my air impact wrench. But unfortunately, I don't have that right now. So today, we're using the good old-fashioned breaker bar.
With a few quick flicks of the wrist, we get our wheels off and out of the way. At this point, I decided to drain the gear oil. Not sure why, but it is a good thing that no one placed a large structural member right in the drain floor path. Oh wait. When working on your vehicle, it is strongly advised that you combine tools whenever necessary to make your own custom tools to suit your particular application. Next, we remove the top and bottom 5 main bolts that hold the transmission to the engine block. With the engine held in the air by an engine hoist, we can remove the subframe and prepare to drop the transmission. Now we break for a public service announcement from John about OEM service manuals.
These are really important. You can do anything. Just look it up on the internet. You can do anything. Just look it up on the internet. Dude, this is the most turd-tastic balancing job I've ever seen. You put a jack under a jack. What the fudge? That is engineering school.
Hold on, we need video.
Did you learn this in engineering school? If one jack will not suffice, remember the principle of...
What's that?
Remember the principle of duplicity. 2 jacks will suffice where one will not. It's not even on this. Dude, it's not even on this one jack.
So here's what we do.
So it's literally resting on the jack on top of the jack. The bottom jack isn't even functioning at all, suffice except as a stand for this jack. Oh my God.
We're gonna stand on there.
I'm not putting this jack on the other jack.
No.
Oh. And that's why. Oh no. Are you okay? What happened? What did you do?
Ouch! No blood.
No blood yet. Get your leg out from underneath there, dude.
And let it rock your way. Oh boy.
Whoa! Dude. Whoa! I thought we were all done there.
Did you give any blood?
No blood yet. Don't worry. Because that was so freaking dicey.
Wow.
But that is why the principle works. If you have 2 jacks, in the first 2 jacks that we had on top of the huge pneumatic jack, when those kicked out, this thing just fell onto the pneumatic jack, which totally saved us. Oh man. And that is why it's a true engineering principle that when you have 2 jacks, it will work. It is better than 1.
With our transmission out of the car and on the ground, a quick inspection reveals where most of our clutch plate now resides. Using a brush to remove a lot of the loose dust and brake and carburetor cleaner to wash away most of what is left, we can easily get a fair amount of the old clutch out of the bell housing. You will want to use a little caution when using the brake and carburetor cleaner to not spray any of the seals or rubber components, as the solvent will dry them out and cause problems beyond the one you are already trying to fix. Next, we take the clutch assembly off the flywheel. This looks like it is the original clutch, and it isn't coming off without a fight.
Got this off. 2 people made it easier than one. And this is the old one?
This is the old one. 152,000 miles. Many times of abuse, burnouts, track time, street race. It's had a long, good life, but it's worn out. Here's our replacement. Much prettier, much thicker. You want to pick that one up?
Whoa, that is actually. Yeah, you can see it. It's quite apparent if you look at it up close. Difference.
And so this is what we'll put on next.
Yep. Straight from Japan. It's got some samurai sword etchings on there. So. Alright,
here we go.
We dismantle the transmission to get down to the differential. When you get to see automotive anatomy in this way, you gain a greater appreciation for the creators who developed these intricate systems.
With our transmission torn apart, I can now show you guys the difference between an open differential and at least a helical limited slip differential. Here's our open differential. This is what came factory from Nissan in this vehicle. And as you can see, there's a bar down the middle of it. Problem is the bar doesn't link the 2 drive wheels to one another. What happens is when you're driving, the power will go through the path of least resistance to the tire that is typically slipping. This doesn't help much. Helical differential limited slip is a little bit different. As the wheels start to slip, the gears become tighter and tighter and bite, and so both output shafts spin together, giving you better traction, or in our case, more fun.
The new differential slips right in plug-and-play style, like it was meant to live in this transmission. With the differential in its proper place, we can reassemble the gear towers and shift linkages into their proper place. The main input tower goes in first. Followed by the reverse gear, and finally the output tower. Getting everything to line up takes no small degree of finesse. You have to work it in gently. Hard ramming motions will only cause problems and frustration. Each piece needs to be tenderly and thoughtfully persuaded into a relaxed state of contact. Too much friction between the components during this process can cause harmful and unpleasant interactions. As you continuously move your attention from piece to piece, filling out every component's needs, you will find which piece needs more stimulation than others and how much force to use on them. It doesn't all come at once, but once you find your rhythm, you will find the sweet spot when everything starts clicking. After all of your hard work, a quick release of tension, and you're all done. We put our gear housing back on, along with all the other bits and pieces for our transmission, and prep it to go back into our car.
Doors hammered the wrong way. Freaking dog.
Getting the transmission back in place without the proper jack stand is a slow and tedious process. With enough time and maneuvering, we get the transmission back into its home and lift our structural subframe back into place. Who needs a thigh master when you have a floor jack? Finally, we fill the transmission back up with genuine Nissan transmission oil in preparation for the next steps of our build.
And you roll until you're here, but then you've rolled too far. So you do like a half roll, and like do the shimmy, and you go boom, until you're right where you need to be.